Hello and welcome to the webinar, Implementing SAFe with Metronome, SAFe 4.5 out of the box with Dean Leffingwell and Raj Sankavaram. Hello everyone, my name is Stacy Metro. I'm a certified SAFe program consultant with Radis Software. I will be the moderator for today's webinar. We have an exciting agenda planned, and to make sure we're able to complete all the tasks at hand, just like we do when we practice SAFe, we will time box each of the sections. Following a brief introduction, Dean Leffingwell will provide an overview of SAFe, and then Raj Sankavaram will give a live demo of Metronome. At any time during the webinar, click on the green question mark icon to ask a question. These will be reviewed at the end. With me is Dean Leffingwell, the creator of the Scaled Agile Framework, a public-facing knowledge base of proven best practices that bring the benefits of software agility to the largest enterprises. He is a renowned methodologist, author, multi-entrepreneur, consultant, and executive. He has founded multiple software companies, including Scaled Agile, Inc. I also have Raj Sankavaram, a certified SAFe program consultant and CEO of Radis Software. Radis Software is a gold partner in the Scaled Agile Partner Network and has led several SAFe implementations at federal, commercial, and nonprofit organizations. To help our customers more rapidly adopt SAFe best practices, we have developed Metronome, the first and only cloud-enabled software platform engineered from the ground up to enable organizations to maximize business value and impact by leveraging the Scaled Agile framework. In this webinar, we will demonstrate how Metronome can simplify your adoption of SAFe with its out-of-the-box capabilities and features. And with that introduction, I will turn over the presentation to Dean to review SAFe 4.5.
Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, Stacy. Hello, everyone. I think, are we seeing the screen? I'm definitely sharing here.
A little delayed.
My job this morning is to give you what I've described as the briefest possible introduction to the Scaled Agile framework. I think I'm sharing my screen, but let's just double check and see what happens here.
Yes, we can see your PowerPoint now.
Okay, now if I can just get rid of this guy. Voila, success. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for attending today. I'd like to thank our partner here, Radis Software. We're the first, near as I can tell, fully SAFe enabled from the get-go, out-of-box, SaaS hosted, get started fast, put your stories and features and events in here product. So happy to have Radis as a platform partner. I'm going to highlight some of the major aspects of SAFe, particularly looking at the relationships amongst the elements and some of the key activities and events and artifacts. And I think in order to do so, I'll show some of the key artifacts and the relationship to other artifacts so that we can start to understand how you might tool such a thing as SAFe. For starters, you already know that SAFe is a freely revealed knowledge base. It's a set of integrated, proven patterns. We had a discussion yesterday with the RTE class, and they said, when are you going to opine on the roles and responsibilities and the job family in SAFe? And I said, as soon as we get enough feedback from the market to know exactly how to do that. So we're market-driven and market-aware. You've probably seen the Scaled Agile Framework big picture online. If not, you can go there in another browser window now. I think it's important to note that this is a couple of things. It's a taxonomy. We pick words for things like strategic themes and features and stories. It doesn't make them necessarily be the right word in every circumstance, but we have to pick a single word and go with that word and put meaning to that word. And then also these things have relationships amongst them. So it's not just a set of labels, it's a system. So the elements, the people, the things they do, the activities, the artifacts are all interrelated. So what you're seeing is a domain model for a significantly deep software process. I won't spend much time going through it here now because I'd really rather look at the individual elements. Before I do that, however, I think it's important to note that if you're headed down the SAFE path, you're in good company. We're proud to have recently announced that we reached our 200,000th SAFE trained professionals. We have SAFE trained professionals in over 110 countries, so it's fun and rewarding to be the market leader in this space. Our partners, folks like Radis, are also all over the world, and our service delivery and other partners provide training and consulting services around the framework. So you're not alone in your adoption of SAFE. Most importantly, the row at the bottom is why we care. I mean, we should always ask ourselves why we take on a particular initiative of a particular type. And in this case, the reason is for the business benefits. I was in a discussion just a few weeks ago. It's like, why would we do SAFE? Well, there's only one reason. It's not just to change for change's sake. We really like to be faster time to market. So we see radically improved time to market, 30 to 75%. These are not our numbers, by the way. These are the numbers as reported by our customers. Productivity goes up. How do you know? Well, you can measure it, or more simply, you can simply ask your teams how they feel they're doing. Quality increases very rapidly as well. And then I think most importantly, I'll talk a little bit about Agile teams. I'm on an Agile team. I was introduced to Agile when we all were about 2001, and decided at that time that I didn't really want to work any other way. So being part of an Agile team and creating really big systems is really fun. So employee engagement is a real benefit to adopting a model that benefits the team. And speaking of the team, let's focus a bit on the fact that what is Agile really? Agile starts out with the fundamental notion that a sized software team with a few specific roles can outperform any group of individuals, be they functionally oriented or oriented in any other way. So we like to say that nothing beats an Agile team, and that is indeed the heart and soul of Agile development. Well, you know what an Agile team is, 7 plus or minus 2. That's kind of that's the Scrum definition. We find the same thing for Kanban teams as well. It's just not convenient to have 18 people standing up and reviewing a Kanban board. They can define, build, and test a thing of value. That thing of value is captured really directly from the Agile lore. User stories. User stories were invented in XP, but when I want to implement a functionality, I want to talk about what am I doing, for whom am I doing it, and what benefit did they get. So that you probably heard the canonical form as, as a user, I can, so that. Just a simple expression that closes the loop between the developer and their user community to make sure that what they're doing makes sense for them. These teams deliver new value every iteration. Lots of discussion in the industry about how long an iteration should be. I'll give you my opinion. 2 weeks is absolutely the longest. We run SAFE here as an enterprise. We use it for all of our work, not just our product development work. We run 2-week iterations, and yet my team finds it kind of inconvenient to try to figure out which week this is. So we run 1-week iterations inside the 2-week cadence. So you pick your iteration length. Shorter is better. The only question is making sure that you have to average the transaction cost and the batch size, which is a lean way of saying you have to make sure that the planning overhead is right for the number of stories that you feed through the system. But make no mistake about it, Agile teams are the heart and soul of Agile development. And if we kill that goose that laid the golden egg, we might as well not even have this conversation, because this is not about creating structures on top of teams that cause them to be stilted or revert to, waterfall or other, kind of stage-gated behaviors. This is about really unleashing what I would describe as the expressive power of an Agile team. I guess I fibbed a little bit. I mean, we do think there's something that beats an Agile team, and that's a team of Agile teams. So what's a team of Agile teams? Let's take a look. We see this diagram, that the Agile team, you see the bottom of SAFE. You see what we describe as essential SAFE. I didn't describe that SAFE comes in four different configurations. The simplest one is the one you see here. And for all practical purposes, that's the one we run. We have a few portfolio aspects that we mix in with the process as well. But what is an Agile release train? Number one, it's most likely a virtual organization. When we bring teams together, we probably bring them together from different domains, and we want to have them working together in a way that's convenient for them. And the fact that, maybe that data warehouse team is in a different group doesn't mean they're not part of the train. because they're part of our organization. Now, what does the train do? Well, they iterate too, right? The teams iterate, and so does the train. But we group those iterations into this thing we call program increments. It's a distinct quantum of time and value, and you pick what that time frame needs to be. Some are as short as 6, and some are as long as 12. Interestingly enough, we run 12. We're a relatively small enterprise, and it's convenient for us to kind of integrate with the quarterly cadence that we use for planning. So what does an ARC have that a team doesn't have? Well, it has a number of things. It has a vision. What are we trying to build? You know, the Agile Manifesto, focuses on working software over comprehensive documentation. That's a great statement. I certainly support that statement. But if there is no comprehensive documentation, how do I know I'm building the right thing? Is a series of discussions with the product owner adequate? Well, generally not. So we need some degree of vision, and I'll describe in a second how that vision gets presented to all of the teams. And I think we've all practiced or tried the, hey, we're Agile, we're going to do this in the next 2 weeks, not sure what we're going to do the 2 weeks after that or 2 weeks after that. That simply doesn't fly. That doesn't fly even in our company. We have to have a roadmap. We need to know what courseware and what releases and what products we're going to offer to the market this year. We can't just say we're Agile, we'll sort it all out on a just-in-time basis. We have to know. We also need to understand that our teams work together. So the construct of the ARC gives us the ability to bring architectural and user experience guidance. Now, your team of Agile teams has a common mission and some common understanding of what they're trying to build, what the roadmap looks like, and what the guidance is to make sure that the user's experience is holistic and consistent across the stack. You see on the lower left this little PDCA. I don't focus a lot on that talk, but I'm going to tell you what that is. Is an iteration some unique, current, Generation X thing, or is it simply the plan, do, check, act loop of the basic scientific method? I think it's easiest to describe Agile in terms of the fact that we want to plan, do, check, act what we're doing. And in Waterfall, we do plan, do, check, act, but we only get to do it once. In Agile, we want to do it at the team level and at the art level every 2 weeks, and certainly we want to check in. And that's why you see that the cadence here is really, it's a harmonic cadence. The lower one is the teams doing their work, and the upper one is the Agile release train. But the basic heartbeat is the iteration. In the same way that a team is cross-functional, so is the Agile release train. And this is where we start to get so much of the value and the power of Agile at scale. And let me just pick on architecture for a second, or pick on architecture. I remember a few years ago giving a talk in London to a large group, and a question came up from the audience and said, well, I'm an architect, and from what I know about Agile, there are teams, and we're not part of that. And I said to the audience, I think we've hurt this person's feeling. We know what a team is, and he isn't on one. Well, that makes sense in a way. How could you wouldn't have an architect on every single team? A team is fully capable of designing their feature, their component. But how do those teams of teams work together? How do we do single sign-on, for example, in a way that's meaningful? Well, the home for that architect is right here, the Agile release train. And we see everything from the business to testing and deployment. We talk about, DevOps. Well, if we're going from idea on business through testing and deployment, concept to cash, there can't be any argument about the fact that this is just a development world. It's not a development world, and we'll see that in a second. How do we know what we're doing, and how do we synchronize our work? Well, as Michael Kennedy notes, the father of some of product development for Lean, future product development tasks simply can't be predetermined. We have to distribute planning and control to those who can understand and react to the end result. So much for centralized planning. Michael Kennedy, it doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. So if we don't have centralized planning, is there no planning? Is there sprint-only planning? No, we need something in between, and that's called PI planning. And this is a case where all stakeholders are face-to-face, typically in multiple locations. If you're a large distributed multinational company, as I expect many of you are, it may not be appropriate every 10 or 12 weeks to pick up 50 people and fly them internationally. On the other hand, we might do that once, but the next time we're going to be face-to-face to face-to-face. So in the picture down below, you probably can't see there, we have teams in the U.S. and teams from Serbia and teams in Mumbai all participating in face-to-face planning. What's management's job? Well, it's certainly not to manage the day-to-day activities of the development team. management job is to set the mission and have minimum possible constraints. And while we call this PI planning, I've struggled sometimes to try to find another name. This is what we used to call joint application development or rapid application development, where everybody got together and worked together and agreed on exactly what we're going to build and how we're going to build it. So we call it planning, but it's far more than planning. There's more design work and requirements work and even, fast feedback through quick demos and quick evaluations here that happen. So we don't eschew requirements of design. We allow that to emerge. Well, we have to create a forum for that. We have to create the incubator where those things can emerge in a group setting, and that's PI planning. I once saw comments from one of our customers, a VP, who said, we went through a very large PI planning situation with a couple hundred people. It was actually multiple arts, and he said, I think we just cut 6 months off our timeline because there's no way we could have made these decisions if everybody wasn't together at the same time. And who does the planning? Well, guess what? That Agile team. Okay, there's a lot of them now. This is an awfully big art here. This is about 17 teams, if I remember right. Can they plan? Well, you certainly can't plan for them. So we empower them to create the plan that we're going to execute for. And those plans are really critical to us. And they tend to instantiate themselves in a number of ways. Lots of user stories, features in the product roadmap and the backlog, various artifacts. But perhaps most importantly is it boils down to a set of PI objectives. So I'm sitting in one of the team rooms right here, and I can look on the wall and see that just a few weeks ago, the partner team has a number of objectives up there. There's 11 on the wall, and one of them is a new partner website. Okay, I now know as an executive, I'm sitting in this room and saying, in the next PI, and I know when that completes, that we're going to refactor the partner program on the website. That's fantastic, and I know that because the team planned that. I didn't say, by the way, you should do this. I'm on the receiving end of a good planning process that creates that. So there's nothing like PI objectives. They're a protocol. It literally says, publish the refactored partner program website. I know what that means. I don't have to be a techie or a business owner to know that they're going to do that. So that protocol is the way we describe to our stakeholders what we're going to do. So PI objectives is the way we harmonize our work. Now we have this kind of funky string and yarn thing. You've probably seen some pictures of that, program board, and you might think, wow, that's a lot of manual work, and what does that mean? What it means is that this team actually understands their work. So the rows are teams, and the big blue things at the top are features and milestones, and the bottom things are features that feed those, and dependencies. Now this one doesn't have a lot of dependencies on it. You typically see more. But understanding and mapping the dependencies and then managing those dependencies is the way to rapidly increase time to market. I think we all understand that time to market is not driven by how quick I can create Python or Java. It's driven by the fact that nobody could consume that Python script that we wrote on the website because the other sites weren't ready to consume that. So the program board is a key artifact. We're, I guess, multi-method based here at Scaled Agile. We like to use what works. So, and if we find something that worked, as Kanban came along a few years ago, I interviewed a Scrum Master yesterday, and the first thing she did was I asked her how she managed the flow of work, and she drew up her Kanban. So that's like, okay, that's not a task burn down. This is really how we manage feature delivery. This is the program Kanban that was the starting point that we incorporated inside the Scaled Agile framework. And you can see that here. I can't go through it here, but you know that if you see work, you're going to see it get stopped. You're going to establish work and process limits. You can do whatever you need to keep things flowing. So we want to manage feature delivery with the program Kanban. Well, how do we implement features? Well, we're right back to user stories. So we abstracted up a notch to the feature level in order to be able to describe what we wanted to build, but that's not the way the teams work. And as a matter of fact, sometimes features span teams. So we create user stories and enablers that allow us to implement features. So we haven't fundamentally changed the basic artifact or the atomic element, if you will, of a behavior of the system that we implement via user stories. We've simply packaged them in features and allow us to work forward over time that way. Right back to the Agile Manifesto. At various times, teams stop and reflect. Well, at every PI, we stop and reflect, and we make sure that we understand what problems we're working on, We apply root cause analysis. We identify the biggest root cause. We restate the new problem. We brainstorm solutions, and we identify improvement backlog items. And that's a critical thing, because that says if that thing is something that needs to be done, we have to stick it in the backlog. And the reason is it's going to consume resources. Well, there are no white knights out there coming along to say, I hereby improved your continuous integration environment or updated peer-reviewed the partner website. We have to do that work. So we identify those improvement backlog items and we stick them right back in the program backlog. I think we'll see some examples of that coming up in a few minutes. How do those team of teams work? They work in a lean portfolio. What does that mean? Well, if you go to the portfolio level and click on the right, there's a thing called just the portfolio tab, and it'll tell you quite a story. But that story has to do with really managing the flow of work, how strategy becomes implementation. And we do that with a few labels, things like strategic themes, very simple. I'm confident that we published about a month or so ago the strategic themes for our company for 2018. I'm confident that I can look at the Published the Refactored Partner Program website and know that it correlates to one of the things we need to do to have further enable our partners. And yet there are also epics that carry these large initiatives. As a matter of fact, that partner program website is an epic. It's a PI objective. It's also an epic. Lots of work is going to have to happen with that. And again, in order to manage work in process and make sure we can see the workflow through the system, we build a Kanban for that as well. And those epics require approval. We're not going to just willy-nilly create a new partner program. We're going to have to review that. We've gone through some analysis. We've had to understand, do our partners understand this? What's the ROI? Has it changed for them or for us? What's the impact of that new partner program? How are we going to implement it? Is it big bang? We're going to wait 9 months and launch it at the summit? And I'm looking at Susan here, and she's going, oh, I'm not sure exactly. We probably haven't figured that out yet. And that's a pretty important change. Do we require approval from Lean Portfolio Management? Yeah, I think we do. I think that's a pretty big deal. I think I saw an email the other day that says, this is about what to launch. So as an executive of the company, I had the opportunity to look at that. So that's an epic, one more kind of artifact. And they work their way through the portfolio Kanban system. And that's where we see that flow of epics, and that makes those initiatives visible. In the same way that I can sit here right now and see our partner program PI objectives, I can walk into our planning room and see all the stuff on the left. Right now, to make a little bit of fun of ourselves, we have a mother epic in there right now. We have one big giant epic that's a super epic. I can see that. I can see how it gets broken down into further epics and how it moves through the system. And that helps us make sure that if I see an epic to the left of the portfolio Kanban system, it ain't happening. Well, now I know it's not happening. That's information. If I see it on the board, I can see where it is in the flow. So making the work visible is the way to bring transparency to the system, bring honesty into the system, and gives us also a way to make good decisions. Here's an example of the portfolio Kanban system. You're going to see one again in about 8 to 10 minutes from now. But feel free to click on the SAFE website and read this stuff. I mean, all I'm doing in this presentation is I snag some stuff from the website and put it together so that I could make a story out of it. The good news is about the website is that it's all there and it's freely revealed. The hard part is it doesn't tell its own story. We need you for that. So we need you to click on the portfolio and click on the portfolio Kanban and say, wow, this thing called weighted shortest job first, that's a funky set of acronyms. What is that? It's a lean portfolio and program prioritization mechanism. It's not particularly complex, but it's also not trivial. So if you want to understand what that is, click on WSJF, and we may see that again in a few minutes as well. And finally, before we look at how to tool and get started quick with SAFE, I want to make sure that you understand how to gain the knowledge. For starters, everything we know about SAFE is published for free. Articles, guidance articles, download presentations, white papers, and videos. We want you to be successful with SAFE. So we don't want to hide information that says, well, they didn't pay for X, so they might not be successful in their implementation. So take the time to find some access to the presentations and the white papers and videos, and where I talk about, for example, there's a video with me doing about a 45-minute overview of SAFE, and check out the case studies as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our partner, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you implement SAFe on this particular platform. And then I'm hoping that with my few minutes of overrun and Raj's excellent time box behavior, we'll have time for questions, and I'll be back in a few minutes. So thank you for that, and let me turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dean. That was a very engaging presentation of SAFe. I'm sure everyone on the webinar will agree with me that we thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. Hello, everyone. I'm Raj Sankavaram, the CEO of Rada Software. I'm really excited to be presenting Metronome to all of you. It's an honor to be conducting this demo right after Dean's introduction to SAFe. The PowerPoint slide shared on the screen shows the portfolio SAFe configuration. The check marks represent Metronome support and alignment with the various activities in the portfolio SAFe configuration. I will now start the demo of Metronome at the portfolio level, where Dean stopped, and then I will cover the program and team level. We will take a top-down approach for this section of the demo. This is the landing screen in Metronome. As you can see, this is aligned to the portfolio SAFe configuration, which is the default configuration in Metronome. This screen shows the arts in the value stream, the alignment across the teams in the art for the current PI. This screen, inspired by the big picture, gives users single-click access to portfolio-level information like the strategic teams and portfolio Kanban, program-level information like the programs in the portfolio, the program backlog, team-level information like the teams in the program, the team backlog, PIs, and iterations with visual indicators of status of the various items. As you can see, STTR program's PI4 is in progress. 55% of the work has been completed. 3 out of the 4 iterations are completed, and the 4th iteration is in progress. This comprehensive view helps RTEs, product managers, scrum masters, and product owners keep track of the overall progress of the arc. Let us go to the portfolio Kanban. Epics go through lean exploration cycle in Metronome and can be tracked easily along the entire flow from the funnel all the way through the implementation. As epics are reviewed, they can be further elaborated using the hypothesis statement. I'm going to edit an epic in the implementation stage. When epics are pulled into implementation, the progress can be tracked using the epic burn-up charts and the feature screen. Let's take a look at the epic burn-up chart that Metronome generates. When epics are pulled into implementation, the epic burn-up chart displays the cumulative and actual story points at the end of each iteration. The feature screen is a powerful visual aid that enables the epic owner and portfolio management to view the feature size as well as the status of all the features in the epic. Now, let us go to the next level in the framework. This is the program level. Program screen shows key members in the program and also related information about the program, like the portfolio the program belongs to, the teams that make up the program, and the current PI. The roadmap shows the PI objective, the start date of the PI, and the status of the PI. As you can see, when I opened the screen, it brought the focus to the current PI, which is the PI 4 in this case. But the user has the ability to go in and view information of a completed PI or an upcoming PI. The About and the Vision help RTEs get aligned to the program's mission. All of Metronome's note fields consistently support rich text editing, and all editable fields have inline editing, improving usability. Let us go take a look at the program Kanban. Program Kanban shows features in the funnel, analyzing, and backlog stages. All new features are welcome in the funnel stage. Product managers can quickly add features at this stage with a click of a button. Features that align with the vision and support the strategic teams in the funnel stage can be moved to the analyzing stage for further elaboration. In the analyzing stage, product managers further define the features using the description, the same edit note feature. And they can enter the benefit hypothesis for the feature using the hypothesis screen. They can also go in and break the feature down to stories using the story screen. The highest priority features that were analyzed and approved by product manager can now be moved to the program backlog. Let us go to the program backlog screen. SAFe is a flow-based system. So at the PI boundary, Metronome's program backlog feature will be very useful. The program backlog allows product managers to manage and prioritize the features quickly. So for all those product managers watching the webinar, you will see now how Metronome can be used quickly and easily to put together a list of features for the PI planning ceremony. So let's start doing that now. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to edit a feature and enter some scores for the WSGF. As you can see, I'm entering some scores for the various values. When I'm done, I'm going to save that, and I'm going to exit out of the feature screen, and I'm going to reload the program backlog. As you saw, when I did that, it changed the Metronome calculated the WSJF based on the values I entered. I'm going to now sort the backlog based on WSJF. The feature with the highest priority can be pulled into the PI. So in this manner, product manager ensures that the program backlog is staged with well-defined features that can be pulled by the art for implementation in an upcoming PI. Now, let us go into the PI planning. SAFe describes end-to-end sequencing of PI as the metronome of art. Let us see how Metronome can be useful for the most important ceremony in SAFe, which is the PI planning ceremony. Business owners and the rest of the stakeholders at the program level can kickstart the PI with a set of program PI objectives. Hey, you business owners, I'm going to show you something fun now. Watch. Business owners and the Agile teams can go together and assign a business value to each of these objectives that you see here. One more thing I wanted to point to you while we are on the screen is that teams can leverage Metronome during the inspect and adapt ceremony right after the system demo to enter the actual value for each of the PI objectives. Any comments, feedback, and action items identified during inspect and adapt can be entered using the demo notes and INA note screen. In this way, Metronome can become a central repository for all PI-related information. Let us go to the program board. Dean showed us in his PowerPoint the program board from one of the PI planning. Now let's see how this looks in Metronome. Program board displays a list of features identified for the current PI. During the first session of PI planning, teams can add features directly to the program board. Now, let us add some excitement to the demo. Let's add a feature together to the program board. I'm going to enter a feature, call it implement Elastic Search. Going to select that it belongs to the epic that we were looking at, which was the contractor portal. I'm going to give it a feature size of medium. If you look at the list that I'm displaying right now, one of the things Metronome lets you do is it lets you identify if this feature is a business or an enabler feature. So I'm going to leave this as a business feature, and once I'm done, I click on the submit. As you can see, it added the feature directly to the program board. For team level activities, during the latter parts of the PI planning, teams can filter the program board to view the features that are just assigned to them. Teams can also break the features down to stories using this add story feature. Let's do that together, making it more fun. We're going to capture some logs. Give it a story point of 12, and I have the same option at the story level as well. I can identify whether it's a business or an enabler story. This time around, let's go in and select that it's an enabler story. I'm going to assign it to our team, the web application team. Let's pretend we are that team today. I'm going to assign it to iteration 4.4. When I'm done, I click on submit. As you can see, it added it to iteration 4.4. One of the things that I would like to point out here is that the color of the story card. As you can see, we align with safe choice of colors, blue for business and red for enabler. Another thing that I would like to also highlight at the program board is that it can be used during the Scrum of Scrum ceremony to update the progress and impediments among the teams. I'm sure with RTEs on the webinar, you're really excited to see this feature in the Metronome. To track dependencies between stories and features, teams can select the summary view here. The summary view checkbox in program board, what it does, it allows the teams to track dependencies between features, between a feature and a story, or between two stories. So with just a simple click of a button, I can identify the dependencies. During the final session of PI planning, Metronome allows teams to track risks and impediments and roam the risks. Metronome's unique matrix view allows the teams to quickly categorize the risks based on the likelihood of occurrence and the impact of occurrence. Now, let us go to the next level in the framework, which is the team level. Similar to the program screen, the team screen shows the key members in the team, and it also shows you the iteration roadmap. Metronome enables rapid and easy navigation, regardless of where you want to navigate to, whether it's from the team to the program or from the program to the portfolio level. Regardless of where the user wants to navigate, the UX is consistent and informative. Let's go to the team backlog screen. So similar to the program backlog, team backlog allows product owners to create and prioritize stories and have them ready for iteration planning. So now let's see how teams can do iteration planning ceremony using Metronome. Teams can use Metronome storyboard feature during iteration planning to quickly add improvement stories. It also facilitates the easy breakdown of stories into tasks. Teams can also go in and estimate their capacity, and based on these capacity, they can commit to stories. Metronome storyboard feature uniquely facilitates the team's ability to track the iteration progress. Storyboard can be leveraged as a BVIR, Big Visual Information Radiator, during the daily stand-up. As tasks are marked completed, as you can see, both these tasks are marked completed. Stories are updated by a strike-through. As stories are marked completed on the storyboard, the features that we saw earlier on the program board are updated and indicated by a strike-through. In this manner, both the storyboard and the program board act as live boards, adding value not only during planning but also during execution phase, helps the team track their progress. Now, let us see some charts and reports that Metronome generates. So we saw this a little earlier. This is the epic burn-up chart. It helps you track the progress of the epic. Next, this is the program predictability measure. This shows the actual and planned business value for the teams in the art. As you can see, there are two teams, and you can see their performance across the PIs. This is the art velocity. It shows the number of feature points that this particular program has completed at the end of each PI. This is the cumulative flow diagram. It shows the amount of work in different Kanban states. This is the team velocity versus capacity chart. This is the iteration burn down chart, to name a few. These charts allow for real-time decision-making across all levels of the enterprise. This way, Metronome helps to use metrics to actively improve performance, predictability, and productivity. Now, let us look at Metronome's powerful search capability. The contextual search in Metronome searches across the entire data set and clearly labels the result set as feature, epic, program, story. It also allows accessing that with a single click. As you can see, I searched for this and I was able to pull this program up quickly. This completes our demo of Metronome and highlights how it provides support for Portfolio SAFe.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Dean. It's very exciting to hear about SAFe 4.5 and how Metronome can help realize SAFe implementations. Before we dive into the Q&A, I wanted to provide a brief summary of what we've heard today. So we all know, and now we've seen how sophisticated of a framework SAFe is. Its steadily increasing popularity is proof that companies and public sector agencies are deriving more and more value by migrating to it. Metronome is the only tool in the market today that has been designed with all of the SAFe 4.5 constructs in mind. For those of you who are just starting out with SAFe, Metronome supports the SAFe framework in its entirety, which allows you to quickly ramp into usage of the framework and leverage its best practices. For current SAFe users, Metronome supports all 4 of the SAFe levels. Its ability to easily integrate with Jira or any tool that supports a REST API means that any current investments in other tools is protected. If you haven't invested in other tools, Metronome provides all of the functionality that you need in order to scale to all 4 levels of SAFe. Metronome truly is SAFe 4.5 out of the box. And with that, we'll go ahead and do our Q&A. It looks like we're good on time. Raj, can you click on the stop sharing, and I'll go ahead and share. Thank you very much.
Just doing that. Thank you for the cue.
Okay, great. So these questions should be on screen for people to view themselves. So first off, we have a question from Lance. Is this standalone or tie-in with other tools like Jira? So we talked about that a little bit, but Raj, I'll pass that over to you.
Thank you, Lance, for the question. Metronome can integrate with any tool that supports a REST API. So currently it integrates with Jira. We are also planning to build more integration with other tools. That's in our roadmap. Thank you, Stacy.
Thanks, Raj. So moving on, next question from Bill. What services does Radis offer in support of Metronome? How can I get access to those? Raj?
We provide all safe consulting, training, and coaching. So that's the kind of support we provide.
Thanks, Raj. And after the presentation, we will follow up with an email with more information on contacting Radis, and we can certainly talk to you about any custom services or additional demos needed. Okay, moving on. Regarding the program board demo, can you describe how it's used in the standing up environment of an actual PI planning meeting? For instance, we have 75 people in a room and 10 tables. And this is also from Greg. I'll pass that to Raj.
Thank you, Greg, for your question. We can have various teams logging in as themselves and looking at the program board on multiple screens on the monitors. That's how we could do it.
Also, I think that there's something very tactical and tangible about, making dependencies and doing some of the silly things with strings. So one option would be to just build your program board manually, big, visual on the wall, and then at the same time be capturing it. Because the problem with those big program boards is they're not very portable and they're hard to maintain. So maybe a good starting point is to do everything manually, have somebody capture that data, and then move directly into, your online tool after that.
Thank you, Dean.
Great, thank you. So this is a continuation. Sorry, we didn't see, Greg, that went through. So I think this answers your question regarding whether it be modified at the same time or, as Dean suggested, there's some flexibility in whether that can be done in the room and then entered in Metronome after. Raj or Dean, I'll leave this open to you if you have any additional comments.
No, I think it's also particularly critical in distributed PI planning sessions where you have face-to-face to face-to-face. So you might have a central location where you built a planning board, but none of the, webcams or screenshots actually really work. So I think it'd be kind of ideal to have a big visual planning board with the features and the dependencies, and then just be capturing that so you could share that with your remote participants readily. They could update it as well. So I think you'd probably end up in kind of a hybrid mode if you were distributed. I think it'd be a fun thing to try.
Yeah, that is indeed true. If you have teams, like in your example, like you just described, right? You have teams from Mumbai, teams from Siberia. That's a great way to go.
Thanks, Raj and Dean. Move to the next question. All right, here's a question. Where do you buy Metronome in the licensing model? This is from Matt. Raj?
Thank you, Matt. We are happy. There's a contact information slide that Stacy had showed earlier, so please feel free to reach us. We are happy to engage you on one-on-one. We can give you more information about the license model and the cost.
Thanks, Raj. All right, from Denise, does Metronome support the large solution as well? Raj?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Denise, for the question. Yes. Metronome supports all 4 levels, although for the demonstration, we showed you primarily the portfolio safe configuration. It supports all the 4 levels in the framework.
Thanks, Raj. All right, we have a question if we can show the program board again. So, Raj, if you don't...
Absolutely. I think you'll have to stop showing the question, Stacy, otherwise I won't be able to share my screen.
Okay, good. Our technical skills are being tested today. Go ahead, Raj.
There you go. I'm in the summary view. I can go to the detail where you can actually go in and see all the features and sort by the teams. Sorry, filter by the teams.
Thanks, Raj. And just as a follow-on, again, we'll send an email at the end. I'll talk about this when we close, but we'll have a link to the Metronome website. From there, you can reach out to us, and we'd be happy to do additional demos and answer any additional questions. We know that each organization is unique, and so we understand that people would certainly like to view things in more detail. All right, back to the Q&A. We talked about this a little bit earlier. What kind of services consulting does Radis offer in alignment and support with Metronome, and how can we get access to these services? This is from Robert Chumley. Raj, is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
Thank you, Robert, for that question, but I think we already answered it, that we provide all the safe training, coaching, as well as consulting services. Happy to reach out to you after the webinar with if you have any more questions, we can answer those on a one-on-one.
Great, thanks. All right, this is from Denise. How can Metronome support the governance and funding of value streams? Raj?
You can use the program Kanban and the roadmap in order to get the governance, go to the governance of the value stream.
Thank you. And does it work with TFS? So that is Microsoft's Team Foundation server. Raj?
And going back to the previous question, I believe we do not do the budgeting part, right? I think that was the question that he was looking for. Just wanted to clarify that at the portfolio level, if you were looking for the budgeting part, just wanted to clarify that we don't support that in our tool yet, but it is part of our roadmap. Okay, does it work with TFS? Yes, as long this was part of the previous question, I guess, as long as your tool has a REST API, it supports a REST API, we'll be able to integrate with any tool, whether it's a DevOps or a tool that you use for tracking bugs like Jira, whatever the tool may be, we'll be able to integrate with other tools.
Thanks, Raj. Does it support budgeting? So Raj just addressed that?
Yes.
On?
Yes.
Is this a cloud solution or on-prem by Matt?
Yes. Yes. It is a cloud solution, but we can also do it on-prem.
Thanks, Raj. Will the recorded presentation be shared? I can go ahead and answer that. Yes, it will. We will follow up with an email with a link to the recording. We'll also share that on our website as well. All right, from Greg, is the lean business case, the template and information represented in Metronome? And if so, can you describe how Metronome is used as part of the dialoguing or interactions with the business with executives? Raj?
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg, for the question. The business case is supported, and the EPIC hypothesis statement, you saw that the portfolio management team can actually go in and enter the hypothesis statement at the EPIC level. That's how we support the business case, the lean business case.
Thanks, Raj.
And then you'll be able to track that all the way from the funnel onto implementation.
Another good question for Metronome. How many customers are currently using Metronome and the number of users? Raj?
Thank you, Matt. We have several large enterprises using Metronome, including one of the big five. Matt, if you want to reach out to us, want to talk to more about it, find out more about it, we are happy to let you know. Please feel free to reach out to us.
All right, from Greg, is there possibly a finance view or mode, or how about an HR mode?
By that, if you mean, I think SAFE is all about the way you configure it, right? It doesn't have to be truly built to support a product or managing a product development software. It could be used for finance, it could be used for process improvement, could be used for HR, for any of the various. It's all about how you configure the SAFE. So it's how you build your features, it's how you set up your value stream. So yes, it follows the lean flow. That's essentially what I would say. Dean, would you like to add anything to what I just said, please?
It just kind of depends on what the question is. So I don't see Metronome as a financial tool. We don't record costs or budgets or allocate cost to budgets or do CapEx and OpEx. Finance would definitely want to have a view of those things as they flow through the system, but I didn't see anything in direct support of analyzing hour captures or actuals to estimates and cost dollars.
That's correct. We don't do the lean budgeting yet.
Okay.
Okay, what is your strategy relative to Metronome as it relates to partners? Are you proactively seeking partners to extend your ability to market Metronome? This question is from Robert.
I'm assuming this is a question to me.
Yes, Raj.
Okay. Thank you, Robert, again. Yes, we are actively looking for partners, and we want to market Metronome further. Absolutely. Please feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you, Raj. This is our last question. It's 12:57, so I think we did great on time. I want to thank Dean and Raj, as well as everyone on the phone, for your time today. As a follow-up, as I mentioned before, we will send an email with our contact information and a link to the recording for our webinar, as well as post that on our site. Please do not hesitate to reach out. We are happy to provide additional demonstrations and answer any specific questions. Before we close out, Raj or Dean, wanted to open to you. Is there anything you want to say to the group before we close?
I just want to say that was a very impressive demo. It's a high fidelity implementation, and I could see how teams could get started very quickly by entering their PI objectives, their user stories, their features. And then thank Raj and Stacy for bringing us together. It was a really solid presentation you put together. So thanks, everybody.
I wanted to thank as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I was very excited to be presenting again. And thank you, Dean. Thank you for taking time and joining us on the webinar today. I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation, learned a lot every time I watch your videos as well as your presentation. I keep learning and continuous learning, right? So thank you once again for taking time and joining us. And Sue, thank you for making it happen.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.